funny that you asked that. No, not really. It was my granddad, and so I lived two houses down from my grandparents. My dad, having gotten married when he was in high school, his dad, my granddad, actually built them a small little house on a lot of land he already owned, and actually paid cash for it. And then my dad made payments to them, so he was their banker, their lender of sorts. And so because we were close, I grew up around my grandparents a lot, and my granddad was the very hard worker, and so he had tractors. I mean, we were in Texas, right, and so old cars, and he restored a lot of antique cars, and that was his hobby. But he put me to work, and I mean, I did a lot of manual labor. We laid bricks and sidewalk and did stuff on the house, and I sandpapered this 51 Chevy pickup all summer that he bought from this swap meet, I think it was. And
no kidding.
We spent hours and hours on that together, but I was just working, and he paid me, but it was, minimal. It was more about getting to spend time with him. But yeah, I was a hard worker.
And that experience, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a blessing.
Absolutely.
To be able to have that kind of exposure early to work ethic.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not all that common anymore.
And and that's something I'm trying now to figure out for my own kiddos, because they're growing up in an experience much different than mine was, and we're in a better financial position than I came from, and so I'm trying to still work through how can I teach these principles, because I know that's ultimately what's going to help them create a better life.
Absolutely.
And I want them to have that same drive. So.
Yeah, it's a scary thing as a parent, especially coming from a background where you can see plain as day where you get some of your work ethic from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now it's like, my kids have a cush freaking life.
Absolutely.
And how the hell am I going to get this done?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up picking up job sites and learning to use a skill saw when I was 10 years old, and took all of that into what I thought was going to be my career out of high school, and building houses and being a general contractor. And it didn't end up being, luckily, but the value that I got from all those early mornings with my dad and long days, and all of the ass chewings that I got for doing something half-ass and having to redo it, to teach me the attention to detail and the quality and the integrity. I mean, it's hard to duplicate that without having those same type of circumstances.
Struggle. Yeah, absolutely. I dumpster dived. I did all kinds. I wasn't too good for any job. I mean, if I could make a buck and figure out a way to be better and to have more, I mean, I was there. And then obviously you learn to work smarter. But when you're young, it's just any opportunity to do something. I was willing to do it. So
that's incredible. So now it starts with a fourplex. How long before you got the second deal done?
It took longer than what I would have otherwise expected. I was hoping that it would be something I could do right away. Uh-huh. But when you're young, you don't know any of these strategies that I learned over the years of how to do it faster. So it took about 3 years to get my next duplex. We timed things well where there was the first-time home buyer credit.
Yeah.
And so we got the $8,000 tax credit that was available at the time. And I had all my money back from the down payment within 2 months, between security deposits, prorated rents, a month without having to pay the mortgage but having rent income from the fourplex, the first-time home buyer credit. And it was an owner-occupied loan, and so you only had to put 3 or 4% down. And so I had all my money back, and here I am thinking, okay, I got to do the next one. But what I found is when you are willing to live in the multifamily unit, there's better residential financing available. And so 5%, 10% down was on the table. And at that time, trying to save up $100K or whatever it was to do 25% down on a $400,000 investment may have taken me 10 years. I mean, I just wasn't making enough or saving enough per year at that time to be able to, get ahead. And so for us, we were willing to live in the unit and the property, and we were young anyway, so most of our friends were living in apartments, hadn't yet bought a home anyways, and so I'd rather own the property and learn how to operate it and how to invest and build equity. And
such a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible.
And that became a passion.
That's a cool thing for our listeners right now. Like for me to turn around and do that and go live in a fourplex right now,
no way.
With as picky as my wife is about where we live, I mean, it's not even an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for somebody in similar circumstances, going to college or early on in their career, single, not a lot of responsibilities, it's an incredible opportunity. Build your damn credit up and go out. Do they still do the same kind of stuff? Like all the same stuff that was available to you to get that first fourplex, are they still doing all that today?
Yes, the first-time homebuyer credit is not yet, or is not there anymore. The market has changed and evolved in that prices are far higher than what they were then.
Okay.
Obviously, I was coming off of 2008. I bought the fourplex in 2010.
Wow.
And so the rent rates have to cover the mortgage of the other 3 units in order to qualify. And so we found a unique property that actually fit the criteria in order for my down payment to be low enough for what I had available to invest. Mm-hmm. And so it's tricky. But yes, the rules are the same or very similar. You can
still make it work. The numbers are different. And here we are in 2021, real estate prices, despite what everybody thinks about them, supposed to go down at some point, have not done that yet. And it's still possible.
What happens, Jefferson, when interest rates come down, though? Your borrowing power goes up. And so we've seen interest rates continue to decline since the early 80s. And, in the last 10 years, we were told there's no way rates can go any lower. We're at historical lows.
They keep going down.
And the Fed's guidance is still about trying to keep rates low to stimulate the economy. And so as long as rates come down and wages hold or go up, you can justify higher prices. And as rent rates grow, it justifies higher prices as well. And so with as much as the government is printing money and putting into our economy, it's going to cause inflation. And inflation causes assets to go up in value. So if you look at the stock market, if you look at real estate, if you look at gold, silver, whatever kind of physical asset you may choose to invest in, we will see appreciation. And so unfortunately, it's those who own assets that are going to benefit from a lot of this. And with rates being low, borrowing money right now is so cheap. So if you're starting a business, if you're trying to buy real estate and use debt to build something of significance, you have to make sure the numbers work, but this is a great time. And I'm not saying it's better than what it was 10 years ago when around when I was starting, but it's still, there's a lot of opportunity.
Just as good.
Yeah.
You got to have that positive mindset. Because I run into a lot of people also that look at it from the other side of the coin, that things are as expensive as they've ever been, and rates are low, but how am I supposed to afford these things that were twice as much as they were 10 years ago? It just all depends on how you look at it.
And they're right too. There's merit in that.
Yeah.
However, I think you can argue, why do people invest in the stock market? Take the Dow or the S&P 500, for example, as kind of the index that we all point against. If the stock market's to go up and has averaged 10 to 11% per year since inception, of course it's higher than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And it's going to get higher. And we will see the day probably where the Dow hits 100,000 and more. In fact, I expect it to. That's just how it works. So, of course, with inflation at 2 or 3%, the Dow's going to hit all-time highs. Real estate values are going to hit all-time. And as long as the rent rates and the revenue from the S&P, for example, the companies you'd be investing in, continue to grow, which you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. Every time we meet, it's about how can we grow the company? How can we increase revenue? It can justify a higher valuation for your company and for mine and for real estate and any other company you may choose to invest in. And so
absolutely,
the economics, the fundamentals make sense. Of course it's going to go up. And it's okay to buy at the high as long as 10 years from now it's much higher. And I'm okay with that. And I just think sometimes perspective is important on that.
That is very, very important. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that could very well be what gets somebody off the couch to go make a move, because there's a lot of people that are sitting on it because they're waiting for it to go back down, and it may not ever happen. And the best time to get involved in real estate, no matter where the market's at, is today or yesterday.
That's right. But the next best time is now, right?
Yep.
Or tomorrow, as soon as you can. And I don't know if this is even what you wanted me to point out, but I think this is important. Sitting on cash right now is one of the worst things that you can be doing. The whole reason interest rates are as low is because savers are losers right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you sit in cash, what is the bank actually going to pay you? Maybe 0.5%, probably less.
Way less in most cases.
And if inflation is going up by 2 or 3% per year, which is the historical average, you're losing purchasing power every single year.
Yeah.
And so saving your money is like the worst thing that you could be doing. Beyond an emergency fund reserve that you may want to set aside for peace of mind. Beyond that, put your money to work, whatever it is that you choose for that to be. But sitting in cash is costing you.
Also, so another good point that Dave actually taught me was, you want to have an emergency fund. It's smart.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to keep it in cash, though, because it's going to lose money. So put it in something that it is going to appreciate, and you're still going to have some liquidity there. Like, you got to spread it out a little bit. But gold and silver you brought up, those are good options.
Bought some gold and silver today.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah. It wasn't very long ago that I just bought a big chunk again because of that. Just, the income goes up. You want to make sure your emergency fund is sitting pretty, and it's not going to be losing value. And gold and silver traditionally are not going to lose value.
It's a good hedge.
And then, cryptocurrency is another place to spread it out a little bit. So, along those lines with the emergency fund and the saving some cash, put it somewhere where it's still going to be able to grow and keep up with some inflation.
Absolutely.
Right?
And the liquidity is key in that.
Yeah.
Making sure that when you need it, if you need it, you can get to it.
You can get to it quick.
And depend on
Otherwise,
it being
it's
there.
not much of an emergency
right.
fund.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm curious. Now, you've been doing this for a lot of years. You're, I imagine you're 36 now?
35.
36
yes.
this year, though.
Yep, that's right.
So that is 12 years in real estate. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of good experiences. What would you say is the biggest mistake that you've made in real estate over your 12-year career?
This is not what you typically expect, but I have not ever lost money on a single deal I've done. I am a numbers-driven person, and so I analyze what I do, and I execute on what that is. But I will say, I wish that I would have learned the strategy sooner so that I could have bought more sooner and faster. I told you it took me 3 years to get the next duplex, and probably that, the next one was another year, maybe year and a half. And then in 2015 is when things went rampant, and I was able to buy through partnerships, through other people's money, syndicating deals, finding ways where my lack of capital didn't keep me from moving forward on a good opportunity.
Yeah.
As if there's a good opportunity, there's always going to be money available for it. And so
Absolutely.
I wish that I could have learned the knowledge and maybe had the network or social circle where when an opportunity was found, I knew how to assemble something even if I didn't have my own money. And some of that comes with a reputation of a proven track record of success and doing it right, which I think over the years...
Or just being damn good at sales.
Yeah, or that's right. There you go. And, and that's true.
Uh-huh.
And then if you can deliver and back it up, you'll have that money available again and again and again, and their network as well. And
so I imagine you had kind of a combination of the two. You had now a track record, plus you had some history in sales.
My first partners were my in-laws, so it's almost like, dude, this kid dropped out of college. Like, let's just help him out. We'll lend some money to him. He's married to our daughter. I mean, I don't know if it was pity or not. I think I did a pretty good job on the sales side. I had to sell them on me, and I was able to get their daughter, who is just amazing and grateful that she's my wife. But with that, obviously there was a lot of concern for them. They leveraged their house that was paid off and used a HELOC
It's a big responsibility, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the Dave Ramsey, pay everything off, take on no debt. And so it took maybe a year of maybe discussing what the opportunity looked like. And it was a short sale duplex that actually takes forever to actually close. There's nothing short about it. It's actually a very long process. It's selling it short, meaning the guy owed more than what we were buying it for, which is why it's called a short sale. But what I'm getting at is they took a bet on me. I found the deal. I sold them on the business plan of it, and I've made them millions upon millions of dollars, Jefferson. I've paid that HELOC back plus millions that we've made, deal after deal after deal. And so they started it, and I'm grateful for that experience because it allowed me to get the experience at an early age and the confidence, too, of learning what's working, what's not working, to then have other opportunities come my way. And so more money started to flow to me as they saw the success we were having. And so it began to be more than just family and friends. It was new relationships being formed as far as, hey, this is a guy that's, how in the world is he doing this and that? And so it took time. But, I think I wish I could have learned sooner. But, again, I was pretty young. Things worked out okay.
So now for the average listener, the average person that's wanting to get involved in real estate, and maybe they've done a little bit of research and they've watched some YouTube videos, but not much beyond that. All of those experiences, now looking back, if you had the opportunity to have a playbook in front of you to be able to accelerate what that looks like, what are just like a few simple things that could help somebody accelerate their path to having 3-4 deals now and 20, 30 to 100 doors within the next couple of years?
No, great question. Read my book, but it's not ready.
When's the book come out?
That is exactly what I want to do, though, is share those types of opportunities. And it was supposed to have already been out, Jefferson.
Are you using a ghostwriter?
Yes, I have been using a ghostwriter, and he keeps waiting on me. It's been tough with everything going on with the business and the like. But let me answer the question. The book's going to be a year still probably before it's completely finished.
Do you have a solid title for it yet?
Creative Gains.
Creative Gains.
Financial Strength Through Real Estate. Although there is one other title that could happen, but financial gains is what the gains represents. But with that, it's all about the knowledge and the network. Invest in the knowledge and invest in your network. So network, I mean mentors. I started to go to RIA groups. And so there's a local RIA no matter where you live. You can always find one. In fact, when I'm traveling, I'll usually attend a RIA group when I'm out. And so, we've talked about Kansas City before this. I'll go to the Kansas City RIA groups out there and meet investors, and I'll find out good loan options, portfolio products that I wouldn't have known of otherwise. Portfolio loans means that the bank's investing their own capital and not selling it off to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That's important. Portfolio loans are specialized loans that the bank can do their own interest rate and their own type of financing. So you usually get higher leverage and better interest rates. In fact, I've helped a lot of people in Utah buy a lot of properties with 5 to 15% down and get a better interest rate than what the conventional lenders would have given.
Just with these portfolio loans. Wow.
And the ironic thing is they actually have a lower monthly payment than the conventional lenders would have been by putting less down on the property than the person putting 20 or 25% down. And so when you don't compromise cash flow but have less capital that you have to commit to it, it allows you to buy more property with the same amount of capital.
I love that.
And with that, you can control more real estate. Well, look at our market right now. We've seen double-digit appreciation returns. What if you're the guy that used the portfolio lender, didn't compromise cash flow, but bought 3 fourplexes instead of 1? So now instead of owning $600,000 of real estate, you own $2 million. And 3 years later, the market's appreciated 6-7% per year. You appreciate off of $2 million, not the $600,000.
Absolutely.
The principal reduction was off of $1.6 million, that you borrowed instead of, say $500,000 on just one. So your principal reduction, that creates more equity as well. Your cash flow is 3 times higher because you own more. And so it's all about just learning these nuances, these tricks, and that knowledge is what's powerful. I mean, it really is. We talk about education in college. Like, this has been true education for me, is learning from people who are doing things in a way that I want to do them.
Absolutely.
And finding out, how I can do it better. And so financing is one aspect. Tax strategy. I learned from someone who sold a $20 million profitable real estate project where his net profit was $20 million and didn't pay a dime in tax. I was floored. How can you do that? There's no way. That's illegal.
Teach me.
Is what I thought. Yeah. He became my mentor. I learned how he did. I learned how the affluent and wealthy invest their money so that it's a tax-efficient strategy. And real estate is one of the most tax-efficient investments available. And so today, I invest in real estate for tax shelter, And that allows me to actually make maximum contributions to Roth retirement accounts. So my wife and I do SEP IRA contributions and immediately convert it to Roth because I don't need the tax deduction because my real estate's my tax shelter. So I'm growing 2 buckets of money and assets, financial freedom, so to speak, through different, real estate and stocks. But I'm getting tax-free income from both of them because of these things that you learn. And so again, it's about learning from those who are beyond or where you want to be and asking questions and doing things that can help them. I've had people come to me and want to work for free at our offices doing prospecting just to be in the circle.
Absolutely.
Just to learn. And the education will pay it off 10 times over than just paying them $15 an hour. So I would
awesome.
argue that's what
So do you have something? I noticed in your bio that you actually do some coaching and mentoring.
I did for a time. Ironically, Jefferson, I was charging $500 for an hour of my time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't worth it. Which is
Yeah.
crazy to
So
me.
it's kind of a smaller scale, right?
Coming
Just
from
one-on-one.
Yeah, coming from a kid who didn't make much money, that's a ton of money. Like, that's more money than I ever would have wanted to make.
Yeah.
But the deal is where the real money's made, and it was difficult to actually spend the time coaching when I could have used that time on another deal and structuring
Absolutely.
a deal, and that's where I make the most money. And so, yes, I do, and I think there's things that may come out where we are doing trainings to large groups where my time value can be to a lot of people who have the same questions. And that one-on-one was great because I formed a lot of relationships in that. But, we've had to evolve how we've done things. Yeah.
Just a little bit of a change of perspective.
Right.
When you're giving up that much time. And the one-on-one stuff is, I've been thinking about it too, because I get a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment out of coaching and mentoring and seeing somebody be able to take their life to the next level just by having that exposure.
Absolutely. I miss that part. I do.
But there's other ways to do it that makes a lot more financial sense, and you can still help a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I don't think it was given up that. I actually have evolved in a way where I do work with more people. I'm just doing bigger projects and deals, and those people who come to me, I think that we're impacting in a real way. And a lot of times because of that, there's those one-on-one conversations that happen still. Because I'll hop on with advisors, tax strategists, and their financial planners and their state attorneys all the time and help and share some things that can help from asset protection and tax strategy. And I was a financial planner. I don't know if you knew that, Jefferson. So for 7 years, I was a financial planner, and that's what helped me, do the real estate on the side while I had a day job career. But it learned how to talk to investors. You learn about the different asset classes, how to speak to them, why invest in stocks versus other investments, and why not to.
Yeah.
And
It was 7 years with Edward Jones. It was all with Edward Jones.
2012 to 2019. Yeah.
No kidding. So that was all during your real estate career.
Absolutely.
So it was just helping fund it, and you were learning a lot of cool financial principles along the way.
In 2019, when I officially left, it was we had 4 profit centers and income streams, and my Edward Jones practice was the least of the 4. It's like, why am I still doing this? And I was restricted of what I could do and not do from the SEC with my license. And so it just got to be where it was more complicated. The value I created for people in real estate versus what I could do as a financial planner in stocks was just night and day. And I'm so glad I chose the path of real estate.
You feel like you hung on to it for too long?
I did, because I was scared to lose the income for some reason, the benefits, the retirement plan, all of that.
Yeah.
But I made like 10 times more money than I was making at Edward Jones as soon as I left, because, again, it goes back to, like, how am I going to make this up? And it's like, okay, 3 months into it, you more than made it up.
You got a bunch of anxiety for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a huge decision that we're glad that we made. But I sat for 2 or 3 years almost every day stewing, should I leave? Should I stay? And it was a hard thing to do, but so glad we left and haven't looked back.
Yeah, 2 years later, I'd say you made the right decision.
Yeah.
So, and when you first got here, you asked me, you were curious, like, why me? Why'd you bring me on the show? And I mean, that's why, because you have an incredible story. I don't know a ton about you.
Thank you.
And I've learned a lot more in the last 30 minutes. But I was very intrigued the first time I got to meet you, and just very personable and very engaged in conversation and like genuine. So that's one of the reasons. I had a short list of people that I wanted to bring on the podcast, and you were on the top of the list, one of the first people I wrote down. So
thank you for that. I appreciate it.
It's proven to be a good decision. You got a good story to tell, man.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And you're just barely starting. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, when it comes to the business side of things, the business is very new. And I think that's what's different is I grew wealth outside of my day job, unlike many who may have an awesome business or a high-income job. So, of course, it's easier to become wealthy or to become something when you're in that category. But what about the people who don't? I mean, that's the majority, right? I feel like that's where maybe I resonate more is I was able to become a millionaire by 30, and I didn't make more than 80 grand in my 20s in any year.
Wow.
I averaged under 50,000 probably if you take the averages. And I got a late start. You know, I was in 23, 24 before I started a job. And so really it's like anyone can become financially successful if you have the knowledge, the vision, and drive to make it happen. And that's where the book comes in, where I feel like it doesn't have to be the 200, 500,000 a year income earners or more that have a future of success and financial freedom. We all have that opportunity. I had humble beginnings. I started with nothing, and I still was able to make something out of a low income. And as my knowledge expanded and my ability and experience grew, that opened up new opportunities and so now it's like income is pretty easy, and it's just, of course it's easy now to grow wealth, but back then it wasn't. And it's those things that you learn when it's the struggle and you're just fighting, to figure it out.
Keep pushing. Were you always goal-oriented?
Yes, very much so.
Were you? So I think that's been one of the common themes over the last couple of podcasts is the goals. If you can pick up the habit of writing your goals down and do it often, I mean every single day, and most people will tell you that do their goals and have created that habit that they do it twice a day. They'll do it morning and evening, and they look at them every day. And it's not like you're writing the same stuff down. Every day you're evolving and your goals are changing and you got new stuff that you're going after. I imagine today, even 6 months ago, your goals are different. Significantly different.
Yeah.
So, and then those habits. I also noticed that since the first time I met you last summer, that you've shaped up a little bit. Like you've got some other habits that you've dialed in over the last 6-8 months, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've been hitting the gym?
Life, the Gary Keller, The One Thing, it's a book I enjoy.
I just read that book.
Talks about counterbalancing. And I think for me, Jefferson, leaving Edward Jones, I talked about how I was nervous to lose the income. Even though we were having success and doing a lot of good things, that dependency of just knowing it's there, that safety net, caused massive action to be taken in ways with the real estate. That health and fitness became a back burner activity.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm realizing, okay, I'm not even making time for me, the self-improvement aspects. And so I really had this check of do I want to be this 100 million billionaire type person that's 300 pounds and can't even enjoy things because I'm too tired to get off the couch? Yeah, I'm making good money, but am I enjoying it? And am I being the best version of me? And so I had to have this reality check of I have to make time, because I won't be able to enjoy anything that we're doing in way of financial freedom.
And you guys have kids, don't you?
We have 3 kiddos, and I didn't even want to get on the floor and play because I was too tired, which all I did was sit on the office chair all day. So I was too tired to, get and
too
play.
Tired? Why?
But you are. You're just tired. You're just tired. When you're not eating healthy, you're not exercising, you're not putting yourself in a good mental state, you're tired. And so, I've made some goals and changes that made it where I want to be able to enjoy my kids. I want to influence them in a positive way. I want to have energy again, and I want to be able to not just be this financial guru who's fat. I want to look the part of success that
Absolutely.
I feel like I am. And I think it's hard to view someone truly as successful when they're letting other areas of their life fall apart, or they're not putting energy and effort there. And
it's a human nature to start judging people a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and how else can we know someone in the beginning, as far as the first impression, until you get to know them? And life's so busy for all of us anyways. So right now with COVID too, it just seems like people are not socially gathering. And so how else could you know me and get to know me in a real way? And so I had to. I mean, I had to look the part of what I felt like I was trying to be and become. And so I'm happy. I've got some things to do still, but it's trending in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you've made quite a bit of progress since we first met.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you have some fitness goals?
So I'm just eating keto friendly.
Oh, yeah?
That's the health aspect, and eating the diet aspect. For me, that works. I grew up in Texas. Eating meat was just second nature. Meat and potatoes, that's all I grew up on in some ways. But that has been part of it. And then you don't know about this perhaps with the real estate aspect, but every place we've ever lived, starting with the fourplex, we've had some type of rental income offset to our mortgage. And that I talk a little bit about that in the book. The two biggest expenses in America is taxes and our home expenditures. Mm-hmm. I don't pay on either. That allows me to have a lot more disposable income to put to work for wealth accumulation. Wow. If you're not paying any federal or state taxes due to the great benefits available in real estate of depreciation and some other things.
Like zero taxes?
Haven't paid taxes.
They've never come after you either asking questions?
It's all legal. No. No.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that is incredible.
I have massive amounts of phantom losses I've built up from my real estate projects that absorb future income that I make. And, these are kind of evolving with the new Biden administration. And so there's things that we're doing right now for our investors to lock in those benefits in case some of those change in 2022 and on. And so there's some things there. But if you don't pay federal or state taxes legally because of losses that you can use to shelter them, and second, you don't have to pay your own mortgage, which I haven't had to do for many years because I've had tenant income covering it. You have a lot of free income or disposable income that I was able to put to work in a lot of ways in real estate again. And so I just get more losses, build up more cash flow, more appreciation. And so I can't remember where I was going with that specifically. But
that happens to me a lot
house.
Too.
Something about the house. I remember you said, my wife for Christmas, because we've had rental income from our basement, our legal accessory apartments. We've bought every house that has some kind of income benefit. Yeah. My gift to her was kicking out the tenants, and we finished our basement. And so we have a game room now, a theater room, and then I actually have a gym. And so
this is
I
the
actually
first time.
worked out at my own gym and
no kidding.
At home. And so
awesome.
That's helped because my schedule is quite tight, and it's hard to always get to the gym. Although I do enjoy the social interaction aspect, having the accessibility just right there. I get in the morning, get it done, and that allows me to still have an early start to my day with work. And so that's been a big help. And so the gym and then eating healthier has been a big help in that.
So I did. That was kind of my first experiment with eating healthy was keto also.
Okay.
So it was a couple of years ago now, and it was extremely effective for me. And I was like, when I do something, I go all in. So it's I'm counting everything and making sure that nothing is outside of what falls into keto guideline. That's going to get me out of keto. And it was months and months and months of, and it's a different feel because I would also go to the gym and I felt like I would get depleted and I could get dizzy and stuff. So I was getting what I wanted, and I felt like testosterone levels were high and I could get a good pump. But then I could also get I'm laying on the floor after a hard leg workout.
Not having energy.
What's going on there? But since then now have tried a couple other things, and I'm working with a trainer and a coach now and doing some meal prep on my own after trying some meal prep companies. And it's kind of cool. You start going down this path and you develop those new habits. And now you can take it to the next level. You learn more, you educate yourself more, and you actually know what you're doing this for and how it applies to you. And you can switch back and forth, because I'll still do a couple of months of keto just to kind of alternate between different things.
Absolutely.
But the health part is so important.
It feels good. I mean, it feels good to be in control when you can say no to certain foods that immediately taste good, but then have these impacts to your body and your health and your fitness and energy. To say no to that and eat something that's healthy and the immediate benefit that can come there.
It's a tough thing to develop, that discipline.
It is.
Especially when you grow up eating whatever, whenever, and having no concept of the consequences or what it was doing to your body. I grew up on ramen noodles and Kool-Aid and mac and cheese. And, I mean, my parents didn't know any different, so I didn't know any different.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, it's the same thing. I remember meeting with someone at a CrossFit gym, and they were asking me kind of about what I do and eat and, all of that. I was an athlete in high school, but again, back then you could eat what you want, and as long as you're working out enough, you didn't even see any change to your body. And it's when you get a little older, that starts really making an impact. But I didn't know that a fruit was a carb. I mean, there was all kinds of things. It's like, man, I do not know what to eat and how to eat appropriately to actually get the results that I wanted. And so it took time to actually learn. But it's important, again, just like we're talking about with real estate, understanding, the health and exercise and fitness benefit, the knowledge is where the power is. And so now knowing what foods I should and shouldn't eat can help me get to those goals is important. So for me, I actually, 15% or lower body fat is what I want to maintain for the rest of my life. That's a big key one. I think I want to get lower than that just for personal reasons.
Where are you at right now?
I'm at 18%, I think, the last time I checked.
15%. I just had this come up twice now in 2 days about getting tested for body fat. So I got to find a place to go get mine tested.
So Elevate Fitness is where I went in Orem, but there's quite a few places. My doctor told me 15%, which I thought's interesting. He does a lot of Ironmans. And he just said...
And he gets down way lower than that for an Ironman.
He does, yeah. He's probably 6-7% easy. But he just says all these different diseases and digestion problems and cancer and everything else, if you're at 15% or lower as a male, you're going to be in a lot better... In your life, you're going to enjoy life a lot more with a lot less problems. And so for me, it's more a lifestyle of I want to still enjoy good foods, but that's going to be the exception. I want to have a base of what I always go back to. And I think if I can be in that 15 or lower % body fat, it really struck with me because we all have different body types.
Yeah.
I could carry less or more muscle mass than someone else. And how 180 pounds looks different on you than it would look on me and anyone else. And so it's really the body fat percentage that's a good indicator of all the other components of your body. And I think that's one that you can track and understand and feel better about.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day. That's why I do this, man. And that's why I love this, because not only do I get an opportunity to learn from some great, incredible minds, but the exposure from our audience to that is it's like another representation of getting that fulfillment from helping people.
Right.
Because that's what I love. And one-on-one coaching isn't all that effective.
I'm glad you're doing this, Jefferson, and if I can, I'll share an experience.
Absolutely.
I'm a pretty private person in general. You probably haven't seen me on podcasts very often.
We couldn't even find you on
Instagram, Facebook. I do not post. I'm pretty private, and we're changing some things from a company standpoint for that to evolve.
Yeah.
But I will say this: part of it is because I remember being the kid that had less than everyone else, and I've put myself in a position where I probably have more than a lot of others do. But I don't want to be the guy that's flaunting the success, and so I am pretty to myself about it. But I did learn something that has tried to help that mind shift where opening up and sharing can really help people in a real way. I had someone that I was telling these things of like why I don't share more and why I don't get on when there's things that could probably help people. And he said it, and I'm going to butcher it here, but he said something to the effect of, I don't think if you realized how many lives you could touch and how many lives you could impact for the good by sharing what you know and what you've attained from where you've started and where you are now, could you not feel good about that? Or would that not be a good enough reason?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because you posed it as a question. It really got me thinking.
Wow.
As I've looked at certain people who've come to me and said, Jason's been one of the most influential persons I've ever known or ever met, when they introduced me to their family or to their friends or whomever it is. And I never even knew that. I never thought that was, I'm just good at real estate. I mean, that's who I am in my mind. It's like, okay, I know a good deal when I see it. That's it. But when it impacts someone in a real way, when they're doing something and then by being a part of a deal and it changes their financial stars, there's a lot more impact to that person and to their family and to their people that I never realized. And just hearing him say that, I realized getting out, doing what you're doing, Jefferson, and having people open up and share, there's golden nuggets that we each can find from each other that if we can implement right away can change the trajectory in many facets. Our physical fitness, call it spiritual fitness, call it financial fitness, whatever aspect that you're trying to improve on. I think I could learn a lot from you and you can learn a lot from me, and same with everyone else. So I just think what you're doing is awesome.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. And I think that whenever you do get that figured out and you start sharing more, you're going to be able to touch a lot more people's lives, because you've got some stuff bottled up inside of there that you're keeping to yourself that could help a lot of people.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I know that it's helped me in just the couple of times that we've got to talk on the phone and in Kansas City, and this has been phenomenal. This will be one that I go back personally and listen to and take more notes on, because I try and stay and get engaged, and I got some notes here, but I feel like I'm ignoring you when I'm down here taking notes. So, anyways, awesome. This was phenomenal, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming on, and I think I'm excited about this Kansas City deal that we did at the end of the year. Just by the skin of our teeth, we got it in on December 30th.
It was a push, man. I'm glad we got it too.
And I'm excited to learn some more about these, like the tax strategies and stuff. So we didn't get a chance to ask if we had any questions come in. But listen, we always check the comments. So if you guys have questions for Jason or for myself, drop us a comment, and I will do my best to get Jason to answer them, because I'm not going to know the answers to a lot of these difficult and sophisticated real estate and tax questions. But that's what this is all about. It's a learning experience for you guys, learning experience for me, and we want to get you as much value and questions answered as humanly possible. So, episode 6 is in the books, is what I was trying to say, Mallory. And until next time, thank you guys for checking in. Jason, appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Jefferson.
Let's roll.